What's up, guys? You're listening to the RC Dirt Oval podcast with Alfie and Tim. We're going to get ready and jump back into the second part of the Matt Murphy interview. I just wanted to give you a heads up. For some reason, the longer the recording ran, it started to pick up a digital noise. I've tried to clean it up the best as possible, but it's still there. Listen through it because there's a ton of good information from Matt involved here, and hope you enjoy. Well, cool, man. Well, if you're feeling up to it, man, let's talk setup stuff for a little bit.
Alrighty.
Okay, so I'm guilty of this, and I've noticed tons of people that I race with are guilty of this also, and that's getting tunnel vision when it comes to setup.
And I know exactly where this is going.
Okay, well, no, it's just, it seems like I'll run for a month or two, and I'll be all about, cranking shot collars, and then I'll, for whatever the reason, I'll change my rear toe and it'll really hook the car up. And then for, the next month or two, I'm like focused on rear toe and I'll forget about cranking my shocks. And, I've started to do this. I'm like writing, a list of like, okay, start here, go to this, go to this. And that's what I know. It would be virtually impossible. But when we had Matt Perrier on and he was talking about building an app for your setup stuff, and man, if there was a way you could make the flow to like input it as in,
my car's type, do this first, do this
yes.
second.
Oh my gosh.
And that's, that's where our struggle though, is that's what we want.
But wow, that's so, it hurts my head thinking about it,
Well, I can give you, here's the tough thing about that. You can explain to me what your car is doing.
Right.
And I will give you suggestions in order of which to try them with my setup theory.
Right.
But you can go talk to some of the best chassis guys out there. Mark Corns, Arnie Fi, those guys, they might do exactly work on a different part of the car first.
Right.
So, and that's why when it comes to chassis setup, I always tell people there's no right and wrong. There's what works for you and there's what doesn't work for you.
Right.
However, with that said, my tuning guide has had a lot of success with me and various guys I help out and people all over the country. A couple years back, I don't know the number. I guess somewhere between 400 and 500 people a year contact me for help, and we end up sitting down and discussing their setup, and I just give them some tips and get them pointed the right direction. And I always talk them into downloading the setup guide and take it with them to the track, and then eventually they'll be the guy at the track that the other guys can ask for help.
Yep.
And hopefully that's the evolutionary circle. But I got to the point one day where I was like, well, all this stuff's in my head, and if I died in a car accident tomorrow, everything I learned is for naught.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sit down and write a guide. And a lot of people have said, "Hey, man, you should print that thing and sell it." And I said, anybody that knows me knows I'm not about turning a quick buck.
Right.
It's kind of weird for some of my age to be saying this, but if I'm gone, that's my legacy.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
Everybody in dirt oval racing, new guys can always come in and say, "Hey, man, I don't know what to do." And some of the tracks say, "Hey, man, check this out. Here's this guide. I'll print a new one for myself. You take this one."
Yep.
And just help you up. So there's several places with decent help on the internet. Arnie Fi had his guide, his kind of quick tune guide that was in the back of customers' manuals. And he did some pretty cool chassis seminar videos.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Various big races, and then I've seen Bumps and Jumps has a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I've seen
the
website, and it's kind of generic, but it still helps. Helps you with the stuff.
Yeah.
My tuning guide's a lot more in depth. It kind of goes through. It tells you about everything that you need to know, and it explains it what the changes would be and why you'd want to do them. but it's hard to narrow it down to what when. And if we can figure that out with the app, we'll definitely do it. It'll be pretty sweet.
Yep. Yeah. But I think what I'm noticing, at least in my area where we run, it's a lot of newer people. It's coming into the hobby, and that's fantastic. But they get so focused on, I'm tight going in. What do I do? And it's crank this, crank that, and I think people are I think if people had a better grasp of the physics of what the car should be doing at what point in the track, it would help them to understand, okay, this is why I'm cranking, this part. This is why I'm, adding more left. So real quick, if we could. So basically we're just going to assume the car is at a slow rolling start for the start of the race.
Let me stop you real quick.
Okay.
Let me explain some things here. But we'll definitely retouch on this.
Yeah.
But one of the things that drives me insane when I go to the racetrack is 85% of the guys at the track, the only thing they're tuning on their car the whole time they're there is their rear toe.
Right.
Okay. Now, rear toe changes the way the car drives on and off throttle by changing the direction of the rear wheel.
Right.
So I generalize it in my tuning guide. Left rear toe gets you in, right rear toe gets you off the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So as you lift off the throttle, the weight transfers from left rear to right front. Okay, because you're turning left, so everything goes to the right front.
Right.
So then the angle of that left rear tire has the effect on how much rotation the car gets going in the corner.
Right.
So entry corner, the more left rear toe in you have, the more the car is going to rotate getting in. The less left rear toe, the less it's going to rotate getting in.
Right.
Okay. Left rear toe mainly gets in. It does affect your exit, but not as much as it affects the entrance.
Right.
So right rear toe gets you off the corner when you go back to the throttle. So if you got that right rear tire pointed in towards the center line of the car, lost the right rear toe in, that car is going to be tighter. It's going to kind of push to the fence on throttle.
Right.
So as you go towards 0 degrees, closer to 0, or even toe out, the more you move that out, the more the car is going to free up on throttle. So now instead of the car being tight, it's going to be looser.
Mm-hmm.
So the car might get loose and put the nose to the infield and the rear end slide around.
Right.
So take your toe and realize that's when and why you want to adjust your toe, to change the way the car drives in that one specific spot.
Right.
If your car is tight in, you don't want to just adjust toe because that's kind of a crutch. That's a fine-tuned deal.
Right.
Now, chassis setup, okay, this is huge for me. Chassis setup is the art of controlling weight transfer.
Yep.
That's literally what chassis setup is.
Right.
So you got 4 camber links, you got 4 shocks, 4 springs, you got weight locations placed certain areas in the car, you got downforce, you got aero, you got all this stuff. Everything is based on your ability to control the weight transfer.
Right.
And when you get the weight transfer to work just right, your car is going to be faster than the next car.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, rear toe doesn't adjust weight transfer, or it doesn't control weight transfer in general. It just changes the way the forces of the car are applied as far as acceleration and deceleration.
Okay.
It changes the direction of that force. Whereas using your shocks and your springs and your roll centers, your camber links, and static weight and all that stuff, that physically does affect how much weight transfers and where.
Right.
So that's why when guys are so hooked on adjusting their rear toe, it drives me insane, because as soon as the customer's game changer arms came out, and don't get me wrong, it was a great innovation.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first one to mainstream and make affordable the rear adjustable arms. But it's like, now that guys have that adjustment, they forgot what to do. They forgot that if your car is a little aggressive getting in the corner, you can put 2 turns in that right front collar and snug up the car.
Right.
By putting more pressure on the right front, it's going to hold that right height up a little higher, and it's going to reduce the amount of weight transfer to the nose. Therefore, you're going to take away that little edginess getting in the corner.
Right.
Or if your car is really good everywhere on the track, but when you go to the throttle, it's not very good. What do we want to do? Do we want to change toe? Not necessarily. What we want to do is increase the weight transfer to the rear, so we're not loose coming off the corner on throttle.
Right.
How do we do that? You increase your front droop. By adjusting your front droop, you are only going to affect the way the weight transfers on throttle getting off the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Front droop only affects on throttle, and you're only going to the throttle at one point of the racetrack. That's coming off the corner. So there's so many adjustments that I focus on and I use that guys just ignore.
Right.
And that's springs and shock oil, chassis height. That's like I wrap those all into one. Basically, shocks and chassis height are kind of the same thing for me.
Right.
And you got droop,
mm-hmm.
and then rear toe. Those are the three things I'm constantly working with. But rear toe is number 3 out of all those.
Okay.
Not number 1. Definitely not number 2. It's number 3.
Right.
That's the order that I would work on it. So
now,
go back. No. To your question.
but in all of that, so like how minor are things to you, like anti-squat, and I mean, are those things you ever really fool with much, or?
I honestly, it's been. I haven't played with the anti-squat since 2009.
Okay.
I literally, all of my cars, my rear suspension mounts are bolted flat to the chassis.
Gotcha.
I don't ever play. I'm not saying that anti-squat doesn't do anything, but adding a degree or two of anti-squat is adjusting your setup by 0.02% versus typically my car's not 99% there. I need to make a small change to make it dialed. Typically a car is 90% there and you need to make a change, so you want to get to 95, so you got to take a stab at it.
Gotcha.
It's not, I like to make an adjustment that's going to make a physical change I'm going to feel.
Right.
And I go nuts when guys tell me that they added a ball stud washer. They added 1 millimeter of ball stud washer to their camber link, and the car's dialed now. Like, you're telling me that you can feel the difference in 1 millimeter change in roll center?
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
You cannot feel that.
Right.
And I've gone out and I've put an 1/8-inch spacer and not been able to feel it. And the dirt oval tracks change so much so fast. I mean, I just can't buy into that. So when guys go make super fine, minute changes and stuff, or like when I did a shock collar, when I build a new set of shocks, I put the shock collar all the way to the top. I take a Dremel and I cut a groove. I mark it. I cut a groove where the shock collar is centered all the way to the top. And every time I adjust a collar, I do a full turn.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
So if I got someone trackside to make adjustments, I say, hey, give me 2 turns on the right front. They can visually tell when 2 turns are there.
Oh, that's a slick idea. I like that.
And then if that wasn't good, I want to take it out. Hey, go ahead and pull those 2 back out. They can put it right back to where it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps you incrementally keep track of things. But at the same time, it's always enough of a change that you're going to get it right. If you tell them, hey, put them in the right front, and they turn at a 16th of a turn, is that enough for you? You're not going to feel that.
Right, right.
So, and I have a buddy back home in California who I swear he would used to tell people, give me 1/4 turn in the left rear. That I used to talk junk on the driver's stand. I'd be like, hey, I want 330 seconds in the left front and 764 in the right rear.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's just knowing the adjustments available to you and taking big enough swing to make a difference you can feel. Not everybody's comfortable taking a big swing. And in general, I totally believe in if you don't know better, this is what I tell people to subscribe to. One change at a time, so you know what the changes are going to do.
Sure.
For me, I take huge swings at stuff. I'll often change droop, toe, oil, spring, chassis height, and it's like, and I'll throw 4 different tires on the car, and people are just like, why do you feel that? But a lot of times also, it's when I have a knowledge of what the changes I'm doing and why.
Oh, sure.
Or I know what direction the track's going to go from experience.
Right.
And it's a lot different. Having an understanding about what you're trying to do is big. And if you don't, man, get the tuning guide and take notes. When you try something, write down what you did, where you were, write down where you are, write down what you're changing, and write down what you felt for that change. That way, for your reference, you can get a feel for it, And taking good notes is huge. I don't take any notes. because everything's locked in my head. Like I'm crazy. Like I can't explain how I do this. I can remember the brush spring setup I ran in 2001 at Kranzels when I won.
Oh, wow.
The Nationals.
Yeah.
I remember the exact brush cut and the spring combination. I remember what my amp draw was while breaking the motor in. So, but I can't tell you anything. If I care about it, I remember it.
Right.
So chassis stuff sticks in my head. I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday. So.
Right. No, I get that, man. Well, I think honestly, man, your talk on setup has covered basically what I wanted to know. I think guys would so much be better served if they would understand, like you said, the weight transfer of the balance, the counterbalance. I mean, because I tell you, I mean, what I've done is I've set up a GoPro at tracks before just to film my car, just to watch how it's reacting. Because I mean, when I'm racing, I can't pay that, fine of a detail to see, exactly how it's flexing in the corners and that way, I can know, oh, okay, I'm coming off corner and it's wanting to walk around on me. Well, you know what? I probably need to stiffen up the right front a little bit so that it's putting a little pressure on the left rear or, stuff like that. And I get frustrated with, how do I fix this? Okay, I can help you, but help yourself understand the general physics of it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, a lot of guys have the mindset of fix this for me instead of help me learn how to fix this, and that's really frustrating. But I've seen a bunch of it. And it's kind of the thing. For me personally, I get a lot of guys come to me at the racetrack and say, "Hey, man, I'm doing this. What do you think?"
Mm-hmm.
And I will look them in the eye and I'll try to figure out the situation. I'll give them the most honest answer I can give them.
Right.
Try to give them the best information. But I watch that guy. He walks off and asks the same question to three other guys. I go watch his car and do something different. Yeah. I'm sorry, but that guy's cut off. I'm not going to give him any extra time trying to help him out if he's not going to listen.
Right.
And like when I got guys, when I meet new people and they want help, I'll straight up tell them. I was like, if somebody asks for help and does what I tell them, and then they come back to me for more, hey, this is what I felt. That guy just created an open doorway for him to come get help anytime he needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some of my best friendships in RC are from guys who used to hit me up for help, and basically I told them what to do. They went and did it, and they found success with it, and came back for more. And we built a relationship that way. Like my good buddy Josh Ray out of Memphis area, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the Chili Bowl for the first time last year. I bet you out of the 300-something entries, there's probably 10 people in the building who knew he existed before he went there.
Right.
And I told him before the race, I was like, hey, man, you go there, you do what we've been teaching you, and you drive to the best of your ability and keep your head straight. I was like, you're going to do well. You're going to turn some heads and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the seed round for mod sprint, there's 98 mod sprints there last year. He seeded in second overall.
Oh, wow.
And he was just beside himself. I told him. And the only one that was seeded faster, I think, was Nathan Dean. Nathan Dean is the greatest loose dirt sprint car driver in the history of greatest loose dirt anything driver in the history of loose dirt oval racing.
Right.
I mean, he's been amazing, and he's a buddy of mine too. He's a guy that's got more talent than anybody should ever be allowed to have, because he's just amazing behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And the only way I can ever run with that guy is if his car is not as good and I have an excellent car.
Right.
I don't have the talent to compete with those guys.
Yeah.
My buddy Max Fuller from Customworks, he won late ball and sprint Chili Bowl this year, and he was standing next to me on a driver's stand at both of the A mains, and I'm out there I ran third in late ball. I think I was like 8th or something in sprint. I missed a setup in the sprint car, but just watching these guys go on the racetrack or just being up there with them, the top guys in the country, it's like, man, I'm honored because you guys have some talent.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, it tells me, because I know my limitations as far as driving ability.
Right.
But I also have, in my opinion, I mean, one of the best understandings of chassis setup out there. And so I'm very confident in my approach and my chassis setups. And so the fact that I can run with these guys, or at least make mains with these guys, is a big testament to what chassis can do for you.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm all about race preparation, making sure everything in your cars are perfect, and not just let your stuff sit on the shelf and then show up at the racetrack and wonder why your stuff broke or isn't running right.
Oh yeah.
You know, race prep, and learning about the chassis and doing your homework. I'm all about all that stuff, and that's what makes me competitive.
And that's, I mean, man, for me, you know, I run some classes and some stuff that's just for fun, and you know, they don't get the work. You know, my sprint and stuff like that I'm, you know, super passionate and super competitive over. You know, that gets all of my attention, and I know that I'm not the best wheelman, but I also know too that, you know, every advantage that I can help get by having that car as efficient as possible will help cover up some of my inabilities driving. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's kind of my goal. And this year be my first year at the Chili Bowl. So just looking to have fun, man. And I think just hanging out.
Cool to meet you.
Yeah, man.
You are definitely gonna be welcome if you want to compete with our group. So.
Oh yeah, well I'm gonna have lots of questions, bro. So.
I mean, seriously, if you come with anybody or just yourself?
We got some guys from Pennsylvania coming out. They're heading out like a few days earlier than me because they're setting up as a vendor and stuff like that. And,
okay. Which company are they with?
It's his track. He's got a hobby shop, Ultimate RC Pit Stop.
I gotcha.
And I guess he's an AKA dealer, and so he's going to have tires there and some other stuff.
That sounds good.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, they're all going out at a different time. So
if you're pitting with them, they're going to be in a different area than I'm at. But if you like to, you can come pit with us. It'll be me, Matt Perrier, Mike Perrier, and Josh together.
Okay. So. Okay. Right on, man. Well, we'll get that sorted out as we get closer. If you got time, man, let's jump into some questions because we got quite a few. I think a lot of them we've kind of touched on a lot of it, but so and again for new listeners, I don't really pronounce last names because I'm terrible with them and I ruin them. So Gary asked, why don't 10th scale cars have droop screws?
Well, some of them do. Some of them don't.
Okay.
Half the cars I've designed, 10 scale stuff, have droop screws available in the front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play with the rear droop much at all because, I mean, honestly, well, my take on droop on chassis setup in general, as a designer and developer, it's my job to design and develop a car that's already figured out and 90% close with the options that are built into the car. So having droop screws, it could be helpful, but mostly especially my looser stuff, on my high bike stuff too, really, we run one shock length in the rear, and we almost never play with rear droop unless there's extreme traction situations.
Okay.
But on the front, if you look at Murph Dog front arms, they have droop screw holes in them.
Okay.
And that's how I designed them. And the chassis, some of the chassis have little nubs on there to use droop screws.
Okay.
Why don't they? Not all. That's a whole other question.
Yeah.
10 scale cars in general and off-road don't use droop screws, partly because of the materials that the parts are made out of. They're not like a heavy-duty 8-scale arm could be like more than a quarter-inch thick.
Gotcha.
A 10-scale arm, which is 75% as thick, maybe.
Right.
And so if you put a droop screw through there, maybe the nylon the arm will deform. Maybe not. But yeah, droop screws do definitely make adjusting droop easy. I know Custom Works on their new high bike cars, they're running droop screw setups in the front ends. So it's something that might become a little more mainstream.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't use droop screws in my stuff. I like to be very, I guess, particular. I will pull my shocks off the car to adjust droop. I like to turn the shock eyelet, either the eyelet or the ball cup, depending on what I'm using.
Right.
And I figure I like to change 40 thousandths of shock length at a time for I adjust droop. And I've basically one full turn is about 20 thousandths.
Okay.
2 full turns is 40. 8 turns is 160.
Gotcha.
So if I want to adjust droop, that's kind of how I do it. Or all my cars have droop adjustments built in the shock towers. And you can, if you basically, there's 120 thousandths between each shock hole on the cars I designed. And so you can adjust your droop on the by just loosening the upper shock bolts and moving up on the tower to take droop out, or down on the tower to add droop. And honestly, I'm pretty liberal with tuning with droop. I do it a lot more than most people.
Right.
But if I can get away with that, everybody else can too.
There you go. And Gary's other question, he basically wants to know the purpose in punching holes in tires in either the rim or the outside carcass.
Well,
do you do it, and do you do inside or outside?
Well, the theory behind it, back in the day, you would put a hole in the wheel just to be the vent, and that way you wouldn't get dirt through the tire on the racetrack.
Right.
Then when 8-scale cars started getting the molded inserts, they found that the tires would sometimes hold pressure and balloon up.
Mm-hmm.
This is because the closed cells wouldn't let the air pass through like an open cell insert would.
Right.
So these guys found that if they vent the tire, nothing really gets in there because they're spinning so fast, and then something gets in there, it can fling out if you put the hole right in the middle of the wheel,
right,
in the middle of the tire.
Right.
And then that became the thing. And then recently, the off-road guys have started putting the vents in the sidewall of the tire.
Huh.
And when you put in the sidewall, basically it's more for the indoor stuff because the indoor tracks super low tread patterns and lots of tire dope and insane traction. If you keep on applying tire dope, it'll wear out the insert right where the hole is, and the punched hole will also start stretching and doing weird things.
Okay.
So that's why they punch inserts the tires on the inside or outside of the sidewall now.
Right.
What do I do? Every tire I mount with closed cell foam, I have basically a 1/4 inch hole in the wheel, and I use a 5/64 hole punch in the tire in 4 different places right around the center of the carcass.
Okay.
I do 4, so just in case something does get in there, there's three different other holes. If something is put up, there's 3 different holes, and I chose to do 4. I'm not sure there's any advantage doing 4 versus 2 or whatever.
Right.
But, I've been thinking about starting doing the sidewall thing. I've never done it, and I just hate to put it in the wrong spot. And my thing is, we're relying on that sidewall to support the tread of the tire. I feel like that one spot would just roll over on itself, and I would think it would give inconsistent traction. But with the wheel speed that we carry, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Right.
Something I'll have to play with here.
There you go. All right. Next question. Oh, this is my lovely wife. She wants to know, how can she get a cool RC nickname like Murph Dog or Sippy Cup? Do you have any advice for her?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the RC nicknames is, you don't make your own.
Okay.
So you go to the racetrack, and typically something happens where you end up with someone says something, and you end up with a nickname. There's a kid that used to come out to the racetrack at Howard Hobbies, and he was like 16 years old. He was kind of he had like a summer work help through the city or something.
Right.
And we had just got Subway for lunch, and I'm in there eating a meatball sandwich, and he just looks at me and he says, "That meatball smells like..." So I left out a word there.
Yeah, I got you.
And I said, "You smell like..." Back to him. And I said, "I'm going to call you Meatball from now on."
Uh-huh.
And he was called Meatball for the next 4 years.
Stuck. Yep.
It stuck. And everyone's like, "What's that mean? What's it all about?" And I was like, "Man, I can't even tell you. It's bad."
Right.
And it really wasn't nothing. My nickname, the Murph Dog, when I worked at Howard Hobbies in the early 2000s, I used to build all of Jimmy Babcock's race cars. And he was a factory, Team Losi, Orion motor battery guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to build all his nitro stuff and be his nitro mechanic, and I'd build his electric stuff. I used to build all of his cars and prep them. And we were at a nitro race. I think it was a 2003 Silver State. I think it was Silver State Off-Road Challenge in Vegas.
Right.
And someone was saying something, and someone asked him a question. He said, "I don't know," because I was doing all the building and assembling on his car. He was just driving him at the time, and he said, "I don't know. You got to ask Matty Murph Dog." And next thing I know, everyone started calling me Murph Dog, and that stuck. And here I am, 15 years later, and it's still a thing. So
Yeah.
it's never anything I ever expected. I didn't, but now it's like it's something that's gonna be synonymous with my name forever. Actually, besides that, Scotty Ernst used to have a nickname he'd call me. He used to call me Matt Showtime Murphy.
Okay.
So for a while, people would call me Showtime. But when I started the business, I kind of pushed away from that. That way, people would associate the business with me. They would know to go to help or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but Showtime's a kind of a fun name, though. I'll take that one back if it ever comes back around.
There you go. All right.
As far as getting a nickname, though, just show up at the racetrack and have a good time. And honestly, the more shenanigans are involved, the quicker you're going to get a nickname.
Yeah, true.
I know Jen Lathrop and her nickname and the origins of the group.
Oh yeah.
You get around Randy and Jen enough, and there's gonna be shenanigans.
Oh yeah. So. All right. So Jared wants to know, what chassis have you selected for the Chili Bowl?
Well, since I left Murph Dog, I've been to a handful of races, and I've raced several different chassis. I've ran some customers' cars. I ran some hyperdrive cars. I ran some Murph Dog cars. I've kind of been all over the place with it. And as of right now, my plan for Chili Bowl is to run my own stuff. I'm basically building a handful of cars. I have no intentions of selling cars.
Right.
Not really trying to get back in the chassis game, but basically, me and a couple of my good racing buddies have gotten together, and we're going to build some stuff. So, going to the Chili Bowl, I'm building cars for myself, Matt Perrier, Mike Perrier, and Josh Ray. So
nice.
We're going to have a team of 4 guys who have all been A-main Chili Bowl racers. So
there you go.
So we got 4 experienced racers. I've been spending a lot of time on the CAD software designing these stuff. We're gonna have some pretty sweet cars. Trust me, you guys are gonna definitely want to come check them out.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure the guys gonna dig what we got going on. But all I gotta say is yes, they will have hex wheels.
Right on. Raymond wants to know, what is your obsession with penny slots and crepes?
Well, Raymond is from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Which is a town right next to Tulsa.
Yep.
And that's I spend a lot of time out there. Normally, I get into Oklahoma the weekend before Chili Bowl.
Okay.
And for the last 5-6 years, we've always gone to the local dirt track there, Adams Creek, and kind of had like a test day or whatever.
Right.
They race on Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
Normally we race on Saturday, club race on Saturday, and practice on Sunday or whatever with test and tune.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm there, I got a couple days before Chili Bowl, so I get with the local guys, and kind of I like to go out and have a good time.
Yep.
I'm not a big gambler. I'm not about gambling. I'm not made of money, so I can't just go out and blow a bunch of money at the casinos.
Right.
I haven't been doing it, so I enjoy going to. Normally we go to Hard Rock there in Tulsa area, the Hard Rock Casino, and I go to the penny slots and let's have a hoot and holler and have a blast. And honestly, the only difference between me gambling or playing penny slots versus the high rollers playing the bigger ones is how many numbers are to the left of the location of the decimal point.
Yep.
I'm playing with a penny versus dollars, and
yep.
I mean, I have just as much fun, and I can enjoy myself, and I see that as entertainment. So,
yep.
Anytime I win more than $1, I get up and do a dance around the chair, and I start hitting the holler and making noise. And normally we get a pretty good crowd. My buddy Chris Theodore from over there, he can barely keep a straight face when he's around me. So,
right on.
But I'm known to just do some wild and crazy things, all in the name of fun.
Yeah.
Good, clean fun, of course.
I dig it.
The crate part, from going to the RC Chili Bowl And then back when we used to sponsor cars at the Big Chili Bowl,
Right.
we'd be at the RC track from, say, 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., and then we go next door, and we'd be there till 12:30. Well, you get out at 12:30, and you're hungry, you want to get some food in you, there's not many options open that late.
Right.
Without stopping at fast food or whatever, and I'm not big on fast food.
Right.
So we found this place called Village Inn, which is like this. It's similar to a Denny's or a Waffle House, but you can't compare it to Waffle House. It's a pretty classy. It's like even a step above Denny's.
Okay.
You know, it's just a nicer kind of cafe diner kind of place. And I went there and I was like looking through the menu, nothing really looked good, and I saw they had some crepes there, and I was like, oh, I'll try those.
Yeah.
And man, my hook. They have the best crepes. And it's not on the menu what I get, but I every time I go there, they have no problem making it for me. But I get this they have this this sweet cream cheese filled crepes with like blueberry compote, they call it.
Yep.
All over the top. And I swear, like you can like just like Denny's, they have like the make your own meal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you get, I think we get like 4 crepes and like some hash browns or whatever. And
oh, dang.
Like $9. Man, you can't get that much goodness anywhere else. But we don't have those in California where I was from, or now in North Carolina. We don't have those. So.
Okay.
I only get crepes when I go to Tulsa.
Oh, wow. All right. All right. Kyle Johnson wants to know, how far do you preload a spring before you change spring, or unload before you go down a spring?
There's a couple of varying theories on that. When I first started racing, I kind of went along with if you get more than 4 or 5 turns on a certain spring,
all right,
it's time to go to the next different spring.
Yep.
However, lately I've kind of gone away from that. If you want a 3-pound spring on a certain corner, then run the 3-pound spring and add whatever you got to do preload wise to get your ride heights, your chassis heights where they need to be.
Okay.
Kyle runs out at Auburn Performance Raceway in California,
and
I ran out there in October,
right,
and I was able to win the non-wing class. He runs non-wing and wing sprint cars out there, and I won non-wing, and I think I had a 4-pound right rear spring on the car, and I probably had maybe 8 turns, 9 turns into the spring from the first time the collar contacted the spring. I don't really worry about how much load you're putting on that spring. As you compress the spring, you're never basically if you have a whatever pound rate spring you have on the corner of the car, it's always that pound rate.
Right.
So if you got a 3-pounder, whether you have no preload or you have 15 turns of preload, it's still only a 3-pound spring.
Right.
However, the preload collar, all the preload collar does is change your chassis height. So as you go down, you're going to raise your chassis height. As you go up on the collar, you're going to lower your chassis height. All the collar does is set your ride height.
Right.
So putting more pressure on the spring to get your ride heights up or down doesn't affect the handling. And now, certain springs, especially softer springs, if you have them compressed 8, 10, 15 turns constantly with a softer rate spring, you're going to make that spring's going to have a lot more spring sag quicker than a heavier rated spring on the opposite side.
Right.
So that said, you're going to need to replace softer springs more frequently. And that brings me to something a lot of guys don't do. I would say typically about 2 years is how far I go on a set of springs before I get rid of them all and buy a new spring.
Okay.
Just because after use, they end up being, you could put you next to each other, they're different lanes.
Oh, sure.
So as they change their lanes, the rates slightly change, and just kind of keep things fresh and keep springs in their operating range are designed to be in. So I'm about due to get rid of all my springs and start fresh here. So
okay, that's good advice. All right, and Randy Lathrop wants to know, at what age do you teach a kid about the birds and the bees?
Well, that story, back to California, I used to promote the Best of the Western Oval Series in California.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to travel all over the state racing, and Randy and Jane and Randy's kids used to come out and race with us. And I don't remember what restaurant we were at. There was one night, and we were having some adult consumables
Uh-huh.
at the restaurant, and his kid was kind of being a smart aleck, and well, it was all fun. We always kind of jab back and forth.
Yeah.
He started saying some stuff, and I had some beverages in me, and I like in the sake of humor, I like to throw things out there.
Uh-huh.
And I gave him some life lessons.
Oh boy.
So, and I think he was 13 at the time, so I guess that's the answer.
Okay, 13.
So hopefully, Randy, my lessons paid off.
All right. Jason Watt wants to know spec tire versus open tire and why. Spec class versus open class and why.
Spec tire versus open tire and why.
Yeah.
I believe that there's a time and a place for both.
Okay.
Spec tire is a great equalizer. But there's a few things that need to happen if a spec tire is going to be chosen. A, the tire needs to be it needs to be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can't be the most expensive option out there, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
All right.
So it's got to be kind of cost effective and affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So if a tire is typically $25 for an open tire, if you can get a spec tire that's $22, that's great.
Yep.
Or even 23, 24, and give some sort of break. If you're going to mandate someone, basically tell the guy you don't have a choice on tires, you can't charge him more than everybody else is charging.
Right.
That's bad business. Two, the tire needs to work well. It needs to be good for the average guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's goes without saying, but the average guy, the average racer, is who actually should control the decision making of the industry. But unfortunately, usually it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
A lot of times, manufacturers and even drivers throw their weight around and influence decisions, and they get what they want instead of what racers and the average racer needs to make things fair or equal or beneficial or just not beneficial for anybody, but just on the level playing field.
Right.
The third thing about a spec tire, it needs to be readily available with no concerns about getting stuff.
Yep.
And so that's the thing with spec tires. The other thing with a spec tire, there needs to not be options. It has to be this one tire limited. When you have multiple inserts or multiple compounds, it just muddies the water. That just doubles the amount of tires someone has to bring to a track to be competitive.
Oh, sure.
And someone may not have to do that, but when there's a perception that they have to do that to be competitive, perception is reality.
It is. Yep.
And if there's a perceived advantage to having more than one or different, then sorry, everyone's gonna see that as a disadvantage of that spec tire.
Yep.
So open tire has a place in racing. The place for open tire, modified class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer that open mod, pro mod, whatever you want to call things, you should have options, and you should be able to bolt on whatever you want to bolt on, and let's go racing. At the same time, spec tires, I believe if class has any sort of motor limitation where you're designating what motor we have to run, that class should also run spec tires. There's no reason that you're going to tell me I need to run this wine motor, but I can run any tire I want. Like, how does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You're going to save me money by limiting what I can buy here, but you're going to allow me to have 1,000 options here.
Mm-hmm.
That rubs me the wrong way. And honestly, spec tires, when enforced and basically used properly, where they're affordable, work well, and readily available, when those things are met by a spec tire, they are a huge benefit to the racing community. It makes it easier for the average guy to come out and compete.
Right.
It makes it cheaper, and they're easily hooked up. And it's not like, let's say you go to a track right now. So we're just talking rubber tire stuff for a second. You go to a track right now, and you got a guy that shows up, and he bought himself a set of Proline caliber tires for the rear of his car.
Mm-hmm.
These are big treads for 8-scale style tracks, but that tire's gonna last pretty good. It's gonna get decent bite. It's not gonna wear out real quick. But he got it for a good price, and he can drive the car okay with that. But he sees another guy out there on hole shots, and those hole shots, they might cost a couple bucks more because they come with a molded insert, or they come with different inserts, or whatever. That's
right.
M4 compound. They might wear out faster, might be a little bit faster, but a little bit harder to drive.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see the guy that shows up with positron and molded inserts, and they're a super low tire, and he's grinding them down and doping the crap out of them. And now you got 3 different options over there. His car is the fastest thing on the racetrack, but it's a struggle to hang on to it. But he's a really talented driver and got good stuff. He can hang on to it.
Right.
So that guy in calibers, he's not going to be competitive at all compared to the other 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
The guy in the whole shots, he probably could hang on to the car that the guy on the positron told him not to. He's not as good of a driver.
Right.
But the one thing that you can see about these 3 is the racing's nowhere close in performance, but at the same time, the guy that's slow can't look at the car that's going fast and say he's got the same motor, he's got the same tires.
Right.
There's obviously chassis and driver involved. So anytime you give someone that's struggling an opportunity to point a finger and say, "Oh, it's that," oh, you have a better this. You open up the door to people having excuses and honestly like reasons to leave the sport.
Yep.
So I'm all for spec tires. I think spec tires are a great thing when done properly. I think every spec class should run spec tires. And I think every modified class should run open tires.
Mm.
But if you're going to run a race and mandate a tire, like Chili Bowl, if you want to run a spec tire in mod classes, I'm 100% okay with it at major events. But it should be a controlled tire. You should be limited on sets. This is my take on Chili Bowl. The spec tire thing kind of works out, but it kind of doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with your entry fee, I don't care if you got to pay $100 for an entry. You're already paying $60-$65 for an entry fee.
Right.
So you already got a really high entry fee, and you get nothing out of it as far as race prizes or nothing.
Right.
So if you want to get into the raffle, you have to buy tickets to get in the raffle for door prizes.
Right.
So your race entry for $65 doesn't even get you a chance to win door prizes.
Yep. But
a spectator can go walk up from the bleachers that didn't even enter, and they can spend $50 on raffle tickets, and they can take home $500 worth of stuff. So I mean, it doesn't make sense to me there.
Right.
But if we're gonna go make the entry $100, and you get 1 set of tires with your entry, and then limit the whole weekend, you get 2 sets total per car, maximum.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, especially with the rebar tire, how there's different tread heights the guys are going with, and some guys are grinding and stuff, some guys aren't.
Yep.
If you mandate, you get 2 sets of tires, and you have to run your allotted tires in your practice sessions. That means guys aren't going to dope the snot out of their tires.
Right.
They're not going to be wearing them out. They're not going to be abusing them because you got to get those 2 sets of tires through the features. So, and then think about this: when you go to that race, no, you only have to worry about two sets of tires. That's 2 sets of wheels, 2 sets of inserts, 2 sets of tires, and you're done.
Yeah.
There's no, well, I better bring 4 sets per car just in case the track gets real crazy.
Yep.
But if they limit tires, that also means the track crew needs to keep the track looser and do the work there so that you don't smoke the tires off.
Right.
So it takes a little more effort, but I think it's better for the racer to know that he has an equal playing field with tires. So if you're going to limit stuff, control it, label it. I mean, it's not fair. So where I'm from, I don't run rebars ever except for Chili Bowl.
Right.
Like I don't ever run rebars. There's guys at certain tracks that run them all year long. They got 8 different sets of tires, varying stages of break-in.
Oh yeah.
With prepping them for how many months, and you can't say that a brand new set of tires I glued up the week of Chili Bowl or at the track at Chili Bowl is going to perform the same as that set of being prepped tires right where they want them.
Oh yeah.
And so when a guy can bolt on a set like that every time his car hits a track, so you got infinite qualifying rounds or practice rounds, you got your seed round, you got 3 qualifiers, and you got your features. That could be 6, 7 sets of tires. And I'm not saying everybody needs 7 sets of tires or that anybody's doing that.
Right,
but
right.
The fact that they can.
Oh, sure.
Can open up to the perception that you need it.
Yep.
So if you're going to spec stuff in a big race, you kind of got to do a control setup and limit stuff. But that's an opinion that doesn't really, I guess it won't hold any weight because that's not how it's going to work out. But
right.
But that's my take on spec tires versus open tires. I don't mind. There's definitely a place or a reason for spec classes.
Sure.
Motor wise, even 17.5 classes have a purpose and a place. And I'm not a big fan of 17.5, But that's for me personally. I don't want to race 17.5. I'm a 21-year veteran RC racer. I shouldn't be showing up to the local track to race the slowest available wind, basically, motor. We should have the expert veteran drivers running more power to get. I mean, I just feel like the pro class shouldn't be a 17.5 class.
No, I agree. So. And for me, what it boils down to for me personally is around us, everything is 17.5. I mean, it's just you can't go anywhere.
Since I moved to the East Coast, I think I've raced dirt oval, actually like foam tire stuff, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Right.
And I think I've actually raced a 17.5 class 3 times.
Right.
And out of the maybe 4 times I've run, it just, I'll take my hat off. There's certain guys out there who really have their stuff together with spec programs.
Right.
And they're flying. And I'm not trying to knock their effort or their performance at all, but the same guys, the same talent level, same quality driver and equipment could, in my opinion, should be stepping up to a higher class.
Right.
But then there's always the guys, it means more to win against 25 guys than it would against 5 or 10. And I hear that. I don't buy into it.
Right.
And I think you should always race up. And honestly, the disappearance of modified racing has kind of hurt me. But I got to give a shout out to Bumps and Jumps up in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a resurgence of mod sprint car racing right now. And I'm kind of kicking myself. I sold all my high bite stuff. I have no high bite foam tire cars right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would really be trying to get up there to run some mod stuff, sprint. My buddy Kyle won last week in mod sprint up there. I guess they're kind of doing like a series thing, like a mod sprint resurgence series or something. And they had like 25 cars or something. He went out there and won the feature. So he's a good dude. He runs real strong. And I'd love to get up there and run with those guys. My buddy Dave Bartles, Nick Angelis. I got a lot of friends up there. I love getting wheel time with. So
right.
I'll be up there for the freeze to play with you guys.
There you go. Yeah, the thing that I dislike about 17.5 in the spec type classes is it's what you were just saying a minute ago about the perception of need, and as soon as the guy shows up with whatever the latest, motor of the week is, and he puts in a good run, even though it's probably the other 99 things he's done to the car that got him there, right. The other drivers are going, now I got to go buy one, and it's.
I have a slightly different perception on that, or take on it, because there is that. It does exist. I'm not going to say that doesn't. But the bigger problem for me is there is the motor of the week game or motor of the month or whatever right now. Right. There's change them left and right. But around here, all the classes have to run, like the foam tire says, they all have to run the Sure Speed spec motor.
Oh, okay.
Motor.
Yeah.
Similar batteries. They're doing a good job of keeping things in check there, so you don't have to worry about playing the motor game.
Gotcha.
But where that goes wrong is anytime the cars are going slow enough that you don't really have to lift.
Yeah.
Or slow enough where someone can get the advantage of not having to lift. Then you're putting a premium on horsepower.
Oh yeah.
And when a guy doesn't have to lift off the throttle, and then it becomes all about how much rip you got. So if all these guys ran 13.5 instead of 17.5, at least he'd be lifting, and horsepower wouldn't mean as much.
Right.
But the problem is the more you slow down the cars with higher wind motors, the more that a motorizer, $400 tool, or motor checkers, or rotor gauges, or even trying to find better parts to build a better motor, buying multiple sensor boards or rotors or whatever, that's when that stuff happens and starts happening.
Yep.
And I'm not saying, by no means am I saying everybody's doing it. And I've heard stories of these guys telling me that I bought one motor and I'm out there whooping everybody's butt with them. And that's cool. Props to you, man.
Right.
But when there's a handful of guys at the track doing it, then it gives a perception, and perception is reality, plain and simple.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, to roll on here, Brad Noon, I think we've pretty much answered this, but Brad wants to know, what does 2018 hold for Matt Murphy, business venture wise, now that there's no more Murph Dog? So, yeah, I mean, we triple X, right? I mean, that's.
Well, there still is Murph Dog.
Sure.
Murph Dog's alive and well in Northern California. I don't know any details of specific inner workings, but I heard rumors of some new cars potentially. So,
okay, cool.
I'm interested to see what they got coming out. So, for me personally, I'm going to launch a new brand here pretty soon, the Triple X stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a lot of guys hit me up to build them new cars. Like I get a lot of guys say, hey, whatever you build, I'll buy. And I'm not trying to sell cars. However, if there's enough demand for what I'm making, in order to race and build what I want to do, I've been designing A-arms, so I got to have somebody machine me A-arms.
Right.
So in order to machine A-arms, you have to do a big enough quantity batch to justify it. So you can't build 5 pairs of arms. It's just not cost effective. So if I got to build 50 sets of arms, and I got a guy that wants to buy some stuff, I'm down to potentially sell a chassis plate, some shock towers, and a few components that I actually have manufactured for myself, and sell a kit and then say, here, you buy these parts and you can build your car. I don't really want to put a full kit together. I might have no interest in that, but we can put together something where someone can buy I wouldn't even want to call it a converter. I don't plan on converting things. Just kind of build a starter kit. You put the other components in here and you can build this car.
Gotcha.
And I might do something like that, but I have no interest in actually like trying to pursue an actual chassis line.
Yeah.
As of right now, as far as chassis go, I'm going to build some high bike cars. I'm building some loose dirt cars. My buddy Jason Seaton back home in Cali, he's going to get back into racing here. His daughter's been battling leukemia. You guys might have seen Racing for Emily.
Yep.
RC Racer for Super Emily, the page on Facebook, or details on my car, various other cars. But his daughter's been battling leukemia. It's almost been a year now since they diagnosed her. She's been fighting, going through chemo and all that stuff. She's in maintenance phase right now, and she's doing good. Growing her hair back, and she's just happy, smiling kid.
Right.
So, good watching that fight going on. But Jason had to take a little hiatus from racing, and I built him a car last month. He went racing with me when I was out there in California. I went to see his family and do some racing together. And we're going to build some new cars. We're going to go to the February Freeze and have some fun. See our entire friends up in Pennsylvania.
Very nice.
I don't have a whole lot of races on my schedule. I haven't worked on my 2018 schedule yet. But as far as the first couple months of the year go, I know New Year's Day with 18 scale cars, we have a race called the Polar Bear 150.
Okay.
150 lapper that we do at the track I raced at last night. That's kind of our New Year's celebration.
Okay.
And then literally right after that, I'm going to head out to Chili Bowl. And then after Chili Bowl, get home. I think my next race after Chili Bowl will probably be the February Freeze, unless there's other things going around. Right. And after February, I have no plans whatsoever. We'll see what that holds.
Right.
I don't want to put too much out there and put false hope, but I'm trying to I'm looking into getting a racetrack going here in my area.
Oh.
And it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Yeah.
But hoping to get a loose dirt dirt oval track going in the Mooresville, North Carolina area. Don't know if I'll be able to make it happen, but
right.
I'm trying right now. So that's basically where my side effort is, besides designing and building new cars that we're going to try to do well with and get the business up and running. So
there you go.
Just kind of trying to make a place to race. I mean, everywhere around me runs high bike 17.5 stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys are really good. It's just not what I want to be doing.
Right.
My nearest track's about an hour and a half from me.
Gotcha.
And it's just a little farther than I really want to be driving the club race,
Yeah, I hear that. All right. Last question is from Russ Williams. Is asking what you're currently running. We answered that. Leaving Murph Dog. We answered that. Okay. He would like to know, how do you approach your setup when racing on different surfaces, i.e., lighter setup or heavier setup?
All right. Well, I basically, the cars I raced are, for the last half dozen years, have all been cars I designed.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I design them and I develop them, I come up with a baseline setup. And I'll typically start with the baseline setup. So for loose dirt, that baseline setup is 45 weight shock coil, 3-hole pistons. I use IRS shocks. That's my standard dampening setup. And then like a sprint car will run red fronts and green rear springs. Late model will run like 4 green springs or something of that sort. A little heavier on the late model because we lay down the front shocks. But I start with a neutral spring setup, a neutral shock setup,
right.
And then depending on what we need the car to do, we'll change shock coil to either speed up or slow down weight transfer on a particular corner. But as far as track to track, honestly, it's for me it's one run to the next. I'll go to a track and have my standard kit set up on the car. I'll go run one run, and I'll feel what the car's doing, and I'll just figure out what direction to go. And honestly, from the start of the race weekend to the end of the race weekend, there may be 9 or 10 different adjustments going various directions with different things.
Right.
And 80% of the time, I'd say I get about to as far as you can really expect to get dialed in that number of runs.
Okay.
I'm unfortunate in the fact that I haven't had a track to call a home track where I can just get a car dialed and leave it and then just show up every week and go fast.
Okay.
So like we had a track in California. I started a track at Hot Rod Hobbies about 3.5 years ago now. And unfortunately, I had the track record with 14 million laps on a golf cart, and I might have raced on it 3 times in 3 years.
Gotcha.
So I never run laps. And I don't, unfortunately, get a race very often. I don't have, if there's something close to me, I'd run more often for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why I'm racing these 18 cars. It gives me wheel time. And these things are so fast. You just got to be, everything happens so fast. So
right.
It's pretty good. But in general, let's say general foam tire setup, I run 2-hole pistons, 35 weight, and 8-pound springs all the way around as a basic setup for a sprint car.
Okay.
And based on what the grip's doing. If the grip's low, go softer on the right rear. The grip comes up pretty good, go harder on the right front, maybe the right rear, depending on what you need. But like right front spring, depends on how your car is getting in the corner. Your car's a little aggressive getting in. You can go to a heavy right front spring, but at the same time on a sprint car, you can move the top wing back. You can take off the front wing. There's lots of adjustments. I mean, I've run lots of races with front wings and lots of races without front wings. I'm not afraid to do one or the other or both.
Uh-huh.
And it's a lot of guys will never even consider taking the front wing off the car.
Right.
But for a while, there's probably 8 years or so where I just wouldn't even put front wings on cars. I wouldn't even build one. I wouldn't show up at the track with one. I'd make the car work without. It's just another thing to complicate a setup.
Right.
But now I got the stuff pretty well figured out where I've been doing it with wings, and there's something to be said about having maximum downforce. You know, if you can have an extra 8 square inches of panel that create downforce, it's definitely going to increase overall downforce. And then you can move the top wing back a little bit so you can get a little more rear downforce to balance out the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got more pressure on all 4 tires, and there's definitely something to be said about that. So but try to make it a basic. What do you do? Honestly, unless the track's really bumpy, then you might want to change your dampening or something. But I don't vary too much. And as far as shock oil goes, like on a foam tire car, I take 2 shock oil bottles to the track with me when I go run foam tire.
Okay.
I take 35 weight associated oil and I take 50 weight associated oil.
Okay.
If I feel like I need to slow down the weight transfer to the right front, I want to make a change on my feel. So I go from 35 on my standard tip to 50 on the right front.
Mm-hmm.
And what that'll do is it'll make it so it's drastically slower, So exactly. So the change I'm trying to make happen will definitely happen.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as loose dirt goes, my standard is 45. I take 3 balls of oil to loose dirt. I go 30, 45, 60. And I jump 15 weight. And some people might look at me like I'm nuts, but I think people are crazy if they think they can feel a 2.5 weight difference in a shock. Not saying there's nothing to it.
Right.
I am not that good to feel it. So
yeah. All right. And he wants also to know, how do you make changes to corner radius sizes?
Mostly what I would say for that is every track's different. Some are tight, some are paper clips, some are big sweeping corners.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing with that is I don't really compare them as being the same. I just put the car, like every time I go to the racetrack, I go through my radio setup. I neutralize everything.
Okay.
Meaning I put my dual rate back to a neutral state. Like I do a new track, I put my dual rate at 70% on no matter what it is.
Right.
And I'll go run a couple of laps to get a feel for it. Sometimes you need 85, sometimes you need 45.
Right.
You just kind of feel it out. If you go to one track, it's 120 feet long, like total run line, and it's a super tight paperclip track,
mm-hmm.
you're going to need a lot more steering than you are on a track that's 160 feet long, that's got big sweeping corners.
Right.
So you just I dial in my radio constantly. I mean, literally every time I touch my radio, I walk up the driver's stand, I start driving the car. You will always. I bet you there hasn't been a time I've grabbed the radio in the last 10 years and not adjusted something in the radio for a run, be it sub trim slightly, or steering speed, or dual rate, or throttle endpoint. Like I take away or add power as needed through the radio,
mm-hmm.
and same thing with steering dual rate. So, and then like I said, as I go out and run, if the car's if I'm on a big sweeping track and the car's got too much steering, I'll go start working on the chassis. I can go to a stiffer right front spring. I can move the wing back. I can take off the front wing. I can change rear toe. I can change roll centers. I can move static weight. I mean, there's a million different things you can do.
Right.
There's really not like a certain change I do going from a tight track to a sweeping track. It's just a different way you drive it and the driving style.
Okay.
Obviously, a paper track, you got to lift earlier. It might run more drag brake to get the car in the corner and rotated.
Right.
And then also, if it's a track where you're sweeping, you're carrying more corner speed. You don't have to accelerate as much. You don't have to run as much front droop typically. But if I'm on a track where I'm getting out of the gas real hard and getting the car load up, I have to accelerate that much more get back up to speed. So I might be running more front droop to transfer more weight to the rear to get on throttle forward drive.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right, man. I should have told Russ that he had a question limit. Who is your favorite driver to race against and why?
Honestly, for me, there's several, and for several reasons. If I'm running loose dirt, there's 2 guys I specifically love racing against. Nathan Dean, because he's the best it's ever been. He's won Chili Bowl more times than I think I've ever been there. I've been there 9 times. I mean, there was years where he would win 2 classes every year for several years, and he's me and my old business partner Alan. We actually call him the Honey Badger. He doesn't know this, but we call him the Honey Badger.
Okay.
Because Honey Badger does what he wants.
Yep.
He sees it and he wants, he takes it. And Nathan's a super talented guy. I used to joke with him all the time. Once he got married, I joked with him like, "Hey man, when are you gonna have a kid?" Because I always tell people, when you have a kid, you give up a tenth to every kid you have. So I told him he finally had a kid. So I was like, "Hey man, I need you to have 2 or 3 more kids now, so we have I need a little more handicap."
All right.
So he's super talented. I love racing with him. I've raced with him probably various A-mains over the years, probably 30, 40 times. And I don't think me and him have ever gotten together on the racetrack. So, I mean, I try to be super respectful if I'm getting lapped or like even anybody. If it's my day and I have a fast hot rod, I hope the guys are going to give me respect and move out of the way as needed. I don't want you to pull over, but I want you to give it a little. If I get a nose underneath you, give it up, you know.
Yeah.
And reverse it. Like when it's not my day, my car's a little off, and someone's coming up on me, I like to give them that 3 feet they need so they can slide around the bottom. And I'm pretty good at falling back in line and not losing time. And we've had a lot of, unfortunately, with him, 99% of the time it's me giving him room, but he's also giving me room the handful of times I've had a better car than him. So I mean, it's we got a good respect thing going on, and that's one of the things that like I wish everybody could see how respectful the top guys are when they're not at their best. And,
right.
And respect's kind of one of those things. Some people think they deserve it, but it's earned, not given.
Right.
And so he's definitely there. The other one on Looster that really is amazing right now, Max Fleur. My buddy Max, he's a hell of a driver. I've been to races with him a couple of times this year where he's out there whooping me, laughing at me, making me look stupid. And he hands me his radio, and I can't even get the thing to go straight down the straightaway. Right. I don't know how he drives. I mean, he's one of those guys that likes to have his dual rated 100% all the time.
Okay.
He just uses what he needs.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like, I can't even comprehend that at this point. So, I guess when I was younger, I had better ability than I do now, but again, cars are a lot faster now.
Oh, yeah.
I can't drive his stuff. This is foam tire stuff I've tried. I can't hang on to it, but he's amazing. He's super smooth and consistent. He won both classes at Chili Bowl last year. And it's just an honor to be friends with a guy that's just a humble, talented driver, pretty good with chassis, and he's always there looking to have a good time and help people out. And,
right.
I'm proud to be when I earn a chance to sit on the driver's stand next to him and race with him. Those are my two guys I aim for in rubber tire stuff. Foam tire stuff, there's a couple guys that are really, really good to race with. Mark Horns, he's about the hardest racing, cleanest guy I've ever raced with. He's not going to give you anything.
Okay.
But he's also not going to wreck you. I mean, and you almost have to like some guys, you get a nose underneath them, and they kind of just fold.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, go. Mark will set it in there too wide, and he will make you keep your car in the right radius for on the bottom 13 inches of the racetrack with a 12-inch wide car,
Yeah.
And you got to be perfect to get by. And then once you got it, you got it. He's not going to run through the back of you, but he's so talented at just wheeling the car and getting it right and figuring out what the car needs on a given day on a given racetrack. Me and him have always ran really clean together, so I really, really, really enjoy racing with him, and I respect him immensely for his driving ability, but his on and off track demeanor. He's one of the quietest guys at the racetrack. He rarely says much. I mean, I've known him for a long time, so it's been 16 years of him not really talking much to me. But honestly, the quieter he is, the more trouble you're in.
Okay.
So, because he's a fast guy. The other Phil Cooper out of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't race as much as he kind of got back, comes and goes, and gets back in and doesn't. He's a hell of a competitor.
Yep.
And he's got a really amazing talent with the wheel. But I don't think I've ever seen him wreck anybody.
Okay.
I mean, there's been a couple where you smear your buddy on a club race or race before a big race and just kind of playing around.
Right.
I mean, we've all done that, but I don't think I've ever seen him really make a mistake and cost somebody else a race. So, I mean, and we've raced quite a few times over the years, and I got to give him two guys I got to give extra props. So I always like to call these guys out: Phil Cooper and Nick DeAngelis. These guys were two guys that didn't know who I was, had no clue of who this kid from California was in 2001 that showed up at Cransville's to try to race. But I showed up with a foam tire national event with Custom Works green compound tires, like standard, not even running these exotic foams like everybody else is running.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about grooving tires. We didn't groove tires in California.
Okay.
We just put slicks on the dirt, and that's what we ran. So these guys are all running groove tires, and they have a hand cleaner only tire roll. I didn't understand what that was all about. Apparently, you put hand cleaner on foam tires, and it makes them softer and stickier.
Okay.
So I didn't know about that. So I showed up at the racetrack with these wrong tires, not grooved, without anything on them, and I'm trying to get these things around the racetrack. And Phil Cooper comes over and he's like, "Hey man, come over to my pit and I'll help you out." So he shows me what they got going on, and then right around the corner from him was Nick DeAngelis. And Nick says, "Hey man, I got a set of tires you can here. Go ahead and bolt these on your car." And oh my goodness, night and day. This guy, he gave me a set at a big race. He hands me a set of tires, and these tires are totally ready to rock. I bolted them on my car. I ran them all weekend, and they were amazing. And Phil Cooper, they both those guys went out of their way. They didn't know me. They didn't know where I was from. They didn't know nothing. They helped me, and that inspired me to have the attitude I have today of I want to help everybody everywhere. Let's have a good time. And those guys literally 100% changed my life.
Oh, wow.
And because I didn't have a direction in life to go work in the RC industry and be racing this long. I never thought I was going to race RC cars forever.
Right.
But I've never quit. 21 years, I've never quit, never stepped away. Those guys helped shape my life and point me to who I want to be. And as you grow up, like, you may not realize it when you're growing up, but you look back in hindsight and say, that guy affected me way more than I ever thought he could or would.
Right.
And those guys really were there. And another guy, Paul Brower, he does the Bulldog short course mod bodies up in New York.
Okay.
Back in the day when dirtoval.com was around, it was like 2001. His name on there, I think his name was John Q. Public or something like that on there. But whatever his screen name was, he used to go out of his way to answer any question I had. And there's these guys I never met that were always trying to help out. And they just really, they influenced me because that was back when message boards and internet was used for positive.
Yeah. Trolling.
Before guys even realized what a keyboard cowboy could be.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So, but those guys really changed my life. So, Nick D'Angelo's still a good buddy of mine up in Pennsylvania, and he's had a resurgence in his racing. He's been laying it down in 10.5 sprint up there at Blums, doing well in mod split. So, that old man still got it. So he's like the brother I never had.
Your buddy Phil Cooper has actually been coming out occasionally and running at my home away from home track and my co-host Tim's home track. He's been running some sprint with them this year. They got him talked into doing some loose dirt, and he was showing them boys what's up and ran good with them.
I guarantee he's showing them boys what's up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man.
He's a hell of a driver. He's really good with the chassis stuff. He's a good dude.
Yep. Well, look, man, I think we have covered everything but world peace tonight. So I think we'll probably wrap it right here, man. Unless you got anything you got before we run, man. People, sponsors you want to thank? Anybody you need to plug?
Yeah. I'm definitely got some people that make my racing possible. So obviously, I got my own brand. I'm coming out with Triple X Power Lab.
All right.
Coming soon to a racetrack near you. I want to thank Ron Schur of Hobby Wing. Hobby Wing takes care of me. All my speed controls and all my cars are always Hobby Wing.
All right.
I think I'm going on 5.5 years now since I switched to Hobby Wing. And I've never had a failure.
Nice.
With the Hobby Wing product. So I swear by it. It's got all the tunability I could ever use, and trust me, I get down with my tuning.
All right.
So, it has everything I need. Brad Rucker and Futaba. Futaba sponsors me for radio gear.
Nice.
I've 21 years I've been racing. I've only run Futaba radios, and they take care of me now. I mean, I always ran their stuff when I was just a paying customer too. So
right.
It's good to have support from the guys that you already believe in.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing is every company that I run for, I believe in their products, and I choose that because I believe it's going to help me win.
Right.
There's nothing out there. I don't run anything that I don't think is the best I can get.
There you go.
So that's important to me. Eric Epp and Dell Epp from Protoform. I helped Protoform with some body work, and we built some pretty cool late models. We got the best 10th late model bodies on the market. And we're always working on new stuff. So
nice.
Until the next one comes out, I think you foam tire guys are going to like the next one.
Nice.
But, oops, I let that slip. Proline takes care of me. Tires, wheels. I don't run a lot of open tire, buggy tire stuff. I only race loose dirt 4 or 5 times a year, really. So,
right.
But I won a couple of races this year on Proline stuff.
There you go.
So I got to thank them. Kimbo products, gears, spur gears, servo savers. all that kind of stuff. They've taken care of me since 2001, so I appreciate them. Jay Kimbo recently sold the business, so I may not be sponsored by him anymore, but I definitely still going to use his stuff.
Yeah.
So my buddy Jason Seaton, he started a new graphics company, 4-4 Designs, out of Roseville, California.
Right.
So all my cars, all my graphic work on the bottom of my cars is done by Jason at 4-4. So you guys looking for some cool wraps? Now, let me tell you, he wants to design race cars. He doesn't want to design crazy off the wall cartoony stuff.
Right.
So if you're looking for a nice clean race car scheme, he's the man. He does all my stuff. I took a lot of pride. I did a Stars and Stripes scheme for the last race. I was in California for a sprint car.
Yeah, that looked
good. I was
good.
really proud of that thing. I thought that came out really sweet.
Yeah, it did.
And I can tell you what, I'm super picky. Like with all my graphic stuff, I envision it in my head, and he dealt with me. I'm a pain in the butt. He dealt with me to get exactly how I wanted, and he's always there to help his customers look good. He's got a lot of guys out there he's already taken care of. So we just started a Facebook page for him this week, and he's already freaking out. He's like, "Man, why'd you do this? Now I'm too busy now." So you guys need any vinyl work for Chili Bowl, get with him ASAP, because he's pretty booked up for the next couple of weeks. So if you want to get stuff for Chili Bowl, get with him sooner than later. So AFX Fabrication, Phil Beardshire, he's out of the Omaha, Nebraska area.
Yeah.
He actually builds some chassis, AFX sprint car, loose dirt stuff.
Yep.
He's taken care of me for Midwest Mod and Short Course Mod bodies.
Okay.
We've been good buddies for a long time, and he goes out of his way to take care of me any chance he gets. I send him some crazy drawings at 3 a.m. sometimes, and next 3 days later, I have some parts on my porch. So
nice.
He takes care of me. I got some friends that do some cool stuff for me, and he's one of them.
Sweet.
CDK Racing.
Yep.
They're out of Endicott, New York, just north of the PA New York border.
Yep.
Right on the Binghamton area, and they do all kinds of sprint car bodies, headers, wings, all kinds of stuff. EDM bodies too. They've taken care of me. They were actually, Charlie was the first one to give me a chance as a designer. 2005, we teamed up and I built some cars. We won Opal, I think twice with the cars that he built with me. So
nice.
He was the first one to believe in me and been a long time friend. So those guys take good care of me, and I appreciate everything they've done for me. Talent in a Bottle, Tire Prep.
Yep.
They keep me hooked up on rubber tire stuff and foam tire stuff. So got 2 different blends. They got a Facebook page out there, so there'll be a bunch of that stuff at Chili Bowl. So if you guys need anything, see me at Chili Bowl. I'll have some there.
Nice.
But buddy Eric at E3 Racing, he takes care of all my needs. When I need some one-off prototype stuff, he's my guy. He goes out of his way to make sure that my crazy ideas can get tested before I have to produce something.
Sweet.
Foam tire stuff, I'm sponsored by RC for Less Tires. Been with Bruce since about 2006, so he's taking good care of me. I appreciate all of his support. Bruce Triplett from RC for Less. And then Tickles Tire Science out of Georgia. He, my buddy Pete Owsley, a lot of people know him as Tickles, but Tickle, he does foam tire truing, grooving, prep. They stuff them in and different tire preps he uses. So basically, when I go foam tire racing, he hands me a set of tires to put on the car. They're ready to rock. So I think I've won 17 races in the last 3 years, like regional or bigger foam tire races with Tickles Tire Science tires. So
right on.
Definitely thanks to Pete for keeping me going. And I think that's the enough. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but I think that's just about everybody. So awesome. I definitely got to thank all my sponsors. Without them, I can't afford to race the level I do.
Right.
And especially with just week in and week out, every track I go to, I always believe I have the best car at the facility. So it's my job to make the car handle as good as I can. And nice. Fortunately, I'm just good enough of a driver to hang on to it when I get it right. So that's kind of my thing. So I appreciate all my sponsors, and really thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. Hopefully, we can help some people out and spread the love of RC Dirt Oval racing. My goal is just promote growth.
Yep.
And honestly, not all growth is good. I want positive growth. I want the right people in the right places, and I want the right kind of attitudes come out of it.
Yep.
There's basically two keys I try to teach people when they first start working with them, and that's one, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
There you go.
So what that is make your own luck. Don't blame something else for something going wrong. Work on your stuff. Make your car as good as possible. Even if you got the third place car, run third place or run a strong third. And sometimes first and second might get together and hand you a win. But you can't get lucky unless you're there prepared to take advantage of it.
That's right.
So that's one thing I preach. The other thing, go out and have fun. These are toy cars. I really ruffle some feathers by calling them toy cars, but end of the day, these are toy cars. You're not having fun, man. Go home, do something different. Take your girlfriend or wife or whatever. Take her to the movies.
Yep.
Go do something. Find another source of entertainment. No, there's no reason your bad day at the racetrack has to ruin somebody else's good day.
Hey, man, look, when there was an incident at the track, my son races and he's 10 and he's in the novice class, but there was a night there wasn't enough novice, so they threw him in the stock class, and that made some guys mad, and they slammed their stuff down and they left and threw a big temper tantrum. And when I came back 2 or 3 weeks later, I think I'd finally got the wrap done for my sprint, and I had right on the top wing, and this is what I'll be running at Chili Bowl. It's a toy. Like,
yes, sir.
Guys, man, we're playing with highly sophisticated toy cars, but it is a hobby, man. Let's relax and have fun. I mean, if somebody's being ignorant, have words with them, but
right.
There's a way to handle stuff, man, and it's not acting like, a 3-year-old.
Yeah, and I say that a lot. I try to tell people we play with. I emphasize play because no one's taking home a bunch of money from winning this.
No,
I don't like money races in general, but we're playing with toys, and these are, and don't get me wrong, these are highly sophisticated, very complex, very adjustable, high quality radio control cars.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're driving toy cars or on a scale dirt track.
Yep.
So if you ain't having fun, go do something else. And man, help. If you can help the guy next to you who's struggling have a better day, please do it. I mean,
yep.
We gotta help the ones we got. And that's the thing. When we finally do get someone at the racetrack, we gotta do whatever we can do to get them to stay.
Absolutely.
And we gotta get more people at the racetrack.
Yep.
And I'm really bummed to hear about your son people running off and leaving, because the worst thing you can do when you have someone at the racetrack is turn them away. Never, ever turn somebody away.
Yep.
Whether, I don't care. Like, I run a race program. Even if we don't have a class for you, man, I'll tell you what. Hey, I'd love you to stay. We don't have a class you fit into. But, hey, if you'd like, you can run between rounds or something. Just find some way to get that guy involved. Maybe you can get him into a car that does fit the rules. You don't want to make it unfair for the other guys that are there.
Right.
But you never want to turn somebody away.
Nope.
It's hard enough to maintain the racers we have. And so you got to do something to keep them there. And like what I always preach is your race program is only as strong as your novice class. So that's what it's all about. You got to figure out a way to get the new guys there. And fresh blood, it takes 10 new guys to make one veteran racer, because you there's a turnover rate.
Oh, sure, sure.
You're not going to turn everybody into racers.
Yep.
And you just got to keep the fresh blood coming. I mean, I'm all for if you bring out a buddy, he races for free and you race for free.
Yep.
It's tough. It might hurt the wallet a little bit right up front. You might miss out on that $10, $15, $20 entry fee, but you know what? In the long run, if those guys keep on coming out, now that's the next week. That's 2 entries that just paid for both that original guy's entry you gave up.
Yep.
So it's gotta look at it from different angles and work on promoting the hobby and the sport. And
that's it.
I'm hopefully I get a track going again. I miss having a track, but at the same time, I definitely, if I get a track going again out here, I'm gonna have to find some people willing to help out, because having it all on your shoulders is tough too. You don't get a race like you'd like. So
no, And that's, man, I do dirt work for a living, and I've had so many people, man, you ought to just open a track. You got the equipment and this, that, and the other. And I go, nope. This is a hobby for me to escape from dirt work and management and
I hear you.
All that. I want to, take my junk to somebody's track and have fun, and I want to go home and leave it there.
Absolutely. It takes a different kind of person to want to run a race facility, and you're basically putting a lot of work that's never going to get you you're never going to get the return for the investment.
No.
Especially financially.
No.
So a good buddy of mine, Don Rice, he was a Pt2 brand rep for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
He's retired now, but he's out of Alabama. And he told me in 2001, when I was working at Hot Rod Hobbies before I was just graduated high school, he told me something. He pulled me aside and said, "Hey, man, let me give you one bit of advice." He said, "Don't work in the art industry. You're never going to make any money."
Right.
And then next line he told me, he says, "Hey, but I can't tell you how to make $1 million in RC." He said, "Start with $3 million."
Yeah. Yep.
And honestly, it's been great advice because I have no get rich quick scheme in mind. I don't have any vision of becoming rich from RC.
Right.
But the thing is, you can't mistake passion. When you find someone passionate about what they're doing, you can see it, and it exudes from them. And I'm one of those people that loves RC racing. I love what I do. Yep. And I don't think anybody at the racetrack has ever seen me and said, "Man, that guy doesn't want to be here."
Right,
so,
right.
So,
well, cool, Matt. Look, man, I really appreciate it. It has been awesome and informative. And hopefully, man, if I don't talk to you before then, I will definitely see you at the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, I might have to do some live updates from Chili Bowl or something.
Oh, it's planned, man. It's planned. I'm hoping when Scotty gets back from China, I want to try to see what is going to be available for internet out there so that.
Next to nothing.
Yeah, I know they've had problems in the past with it dropping out, and I just want to see what's going on, because that's the only thing that's making me nervous. I don't mind bringing outboard gear to do some quality stuff, but if I don't have internet, it's all pointless. So, but anyway, yeah, enough technical crap. Look, Matt, I really, really do appreciate it, man. And for everybody listening, Matt, the Murph Dog Murphy on Facebook, and just keep an eye on him and his product launches. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/RC Dirt Oval, and we will see you guys next time. That's a wrap.
Let me throw one thing out there.
Yeah, bro, go ahead.
On Facebook, guys, if you want to get in touch with me, I got a racer page called Matt the Murph Dog Murphy, parentheses around the Murph Dog. Shoot me a message on there, like my page. You see all my posts, my videos. I try to do a lot of informative stuff, and I'll have some more stuff coming. My Pt2 7PX review will be coming up soon, along with some radio tuning advice for oval racers.
Nice.
And, if you find me on Facebook under Matt Murphy, that's my personal page. I hope none of you guys, I have 1,500 pending friend requests. I don't want anybody to feel like I don't like you. I just keep that for close friends and family.
Yep.
That's why I have my racer page. So don't feel bad don't think I'm mad. Don't get mad or think I'm a jerk if I didn't answer your friend request. I just kind of keep that for personal friends and family. So
right on.
Just want to let that. Some people might get mad because I get friend requests every day. If I don't really know you really well, I just do that for the racer page. So
yep. I don't blame you, bro.
I appreciate you having me on here, man. You guys all take care.
All right, guys. Hey, guys, just want to say thanks for listening. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/RC Dirt Oval. Thanks for listening again. That's a wrap.